Hey, this is Evan Longoria of your San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Let's go, Giants! With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast. Standing on time, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Monday, April 29th, 2019, and this is episode 163 of the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and joining me as always is Eric Nathanson. What's up, man?
Oh, man, I had a great weekend. Can you believe how Endgame... I'm sorry, I think my mic cut out there. Damn. Sorry, folks. Oh, all right. Hey, it was a good weekend. Did you catch
That was
Endgame?
well done.
Thank you.
I thought something really happened there. You got me. I was about to say, mic cut out. Static. Oh, that was excellently played. Endgame was great.
But did you?
We'll leave it at that. Yes, I did see it this weekend. We had to wait for our daughter to get back from Washington, D.C. because it premiered Thursday night. She didn't get back till Friday at midnight, and we kept teasing her. We actually... we're seeing other movies this week, and we took pictures of our son in front of the Endgame poster and sent it to her and said, "We're seeing it tonight." And she got so angry. She was texting us back going, "What? No, you can't. No." Oh, man, it was great. We totally trolled her. My daughter's 13. She is a massive Marvel fan. She's obsessed with Loki. She has his backpack with the horns and has posters in her room and just like goes down the rabbit hole of theories and everything. So, but we did see it on Saturday. Quite the impact. She, I won't say what happened, obviously. No spoilers here, but she was very impacted by the movie. It was a great movie. We're definitely going to go see it a second, probably even a third time. Made over $1 billion in opening weekend worldwide.
Unbelievable.
I mean, just like everybody saw that stuff.
I saw a comparison stat. The amount of money, they made 1.2, the amount of money that they beat the previous record by is like if the next person to break Barry Bonds' home run record hit 173 home runs. Like that's how big of a gain they had on the second place ever. And I'm not, I've never seen any of these things, but like I love watching everybody, going into it this weekend. Like I know spoilers, but I would never tell anybody. Let everybody, I'm a live and let live kind of guy. And, you have to be when you root for our ball club. You got to live and let live type things. So, I thought it was cool. It was a good weekend. At least everybody got to enjoy their weekend with Endgame and Game of Thrones last night, as opposed to Giants baseball on the field.
Yeah, just to clear this up, you just said you've never seen any. Is this your first Marvel movie? It can't be your first.
I've never seen it. I wouldn't see it. I'd have to see them all first.
Oh, you haven't seen Endgame?
No, I haven't seen any of the Marvel movies. And
wow,
I know.
Wow.
Yes.
No, I mean, like, look, even I'm a total crazy Marvel nut, right? I love the stuff, and I never was a Marvel fan growing up. I think it was just DC kind of controlled everything, or was more popular back in the day, as when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s growing up. So it was more, Superman, Wonder Woman, and all that stuff. But I didn't collect comic books and everything. And when they started the MCU, and I'm like, who the F is Iron Man? And then later, Guardians of the Galaxy? What the hell is that? Thor, I remember him having wings on his helmet, and I'm like, hey, some fantasy thing. And then getting into all now 22 movies has been completely turned me around. I'm a complete fan. I've seen every movie at least 3 times, except for Endgame, seen once. But it's a fantastic string of movies. I was just looking it up today. They've made over $7 billion in their 22 films, and just increasing. But sorry, this is not a Marvel fan podcast, but just interesting to hear. Yes, we both share an extreme common interest in a lot of things, including Giants baseball. And I didn't realize, I don't expect people to have seen all 22 movies, but for you to not have seen one,
I've never seen an Iron Man.
You are a rare person. I'm just gonna say that like even passing casual fans have seen an Iron Man or one Avengers movie, right? I mean,
Right.
come on. Well, you got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not that I like hate it or I deride anybody for doing it. It's just not something I ever sought out. And I'm not the kind of guy that flips through the television. I'm the kind of guy that like seeks what I'm watching on Hulu or Netflix or MLB TV. So I don't ever come across the old ones or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, I say one day, but it may never happen. Game of Thrones, on the other hand, I'll be getting into as soon as the series ends. I want to binge that.
Now that's worthy. My wife and I did catch up with the episode 2 and then the latest episode 3 last night back to back. Fantastic stuff. Only 3 episodes left, but you know, like I haven't seen a single Fast and Furious movie. That's not at the Marvel level, but it's still a big franchise. Never seen one of those, so you know, yeah, to each his own. But we're here to talk about Giants baseball, and maybe we should just continue to talk about Marvel because I don't know as we're talking about their performance, but it was a tough week, and it started off so well, Eric. In fact, last podcast we concluded literally saying if the Giants take both games in Toronto, they'll have a 500 road trip at 4-4. And that's exactly what they did. They went in, they pleased us fans, they pleased themselves. Whoa, that sounded weird. And they ended the road trip 4-4. And so, again, it's a long season, as Marty Leary says. It's a mosaic of baseball. They're not going to, quote, turn the corner in April, but we thought, hey, maybe things are getting better. They're worse on the road. They went into Toronto and, you know, took care of business coming into home against a completely depleted New York Yankees team with 15 players on the injured list. No Stanton, no Judge, all these other players out there. We're thinking, okay, it's the AAA Quad A team of the Yankees. We got to take 2 out of 3 here. And, oh boy, things did not go well.
No, and the Yankees, they still had Gary Sanchez and Gleyber Torres, which seemed to be enough. Especially Gary Sanchez on Saturday. It was, it just went to show what depth, the Giants got schooled this weekend, not just on the field in how to run a baseball team. They used to be the model franchise. They are no longer. As I'll give Grant over at The Athletic plenty of credit this week, he wrote about it, how the Giants need to aspire to be the Yankees, who, in essence, aspire to be the Dodgers, which is Farhan's old team, if that all makes sense. Yeah. But the Giants really got schooled this weekend on what kind of a team they need to start building, and it was just very frustrating and ugly baseball to watch because I loved those 2 games in Toronto. That was so much fun. Yeah, it was electric. Pilar's return, and then you had Pablo homering in back-to-back games, 4 home runs in one game for the first time in 3 seasons. Mm-hmm. The Giants looked like a real baseball team. I can't recall a time in recent memory where they looked like such a great team in one series and the complete opposite in the next one. And I don't know if I can give the Yankees full credit on that or if that's just what the Giants have,
Yeah, it was frustrating because, again, the Toronto series was so great. And then they came in and just laid an egg, not only starting pitching-wise, but defense-wise. Their hitting wasn't atrocious against the Yankees. It wasn't astronomical, but they scored some runs against the Yankees. But again, every single game they got behind by a lot early, and with the Giants' lack of being able to score early or score at all, really put them in a deficit. And when you're down 4-0, 6-0, 8-0, I don't care who you're playing, you're going to have a tough time winning those games. And the Giants just completely dug themselves a hole all 3 games, and that was I think that was the nail in the coffin for them all 3 games.
Yeah, and it's funny because they didn't sell out on Willie Mays bobblehead day on Saturday, and that's how you know fans. Yeah, that's how you know fans are frustrated.
And against the Yankees, I mean, come on, yeah. Saturday Yankees, Willie Mays bobblehead, and you don't sell out. That's a big warning sign for Giants ownership.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like they were against the Warriors and Sharks on Saturday. They were up against them on Friday and Sunday. So yeah. Saturday is the day that you figure everybody went to the ballpark. But it just didn't happen. Giants fans aren't coming out, and I don't totally blame them. It's a really tough watch what's on the field this right now. So you want to go through the week real quick and just kind of hit the high and low points?
Yeah, go for it.
Tuesday, going back to Tuesday in Toronto, Kevin Pillar got a wonderful ovation in his return. They had a very nice video tribute to him on the board. He doffed his cap, and then he hit an RBI, and they stopped cheering for him as much.
Yeah, they're like, enemy.
Yep. Shark was decent. He looked more like the guy who pitched against Colorado two starts before that. But the bullpen almost gave it away, and that was our first real shot of the bullpen showing leakage was in that Tuesday game when Watson gave up the grand slam after Dyson basically loaded the bases for him, and Watson gave up the grand slam to Rowdy Tellez to almost blow it. But thankfully, Panda hit a late homer, which was the difference in the game.
Yeah. No, that was a big one. Yeah, that grand slam. I unfortunately I watched the first half of that game and then kind of turned it off. I had other things to do, and then to see later that they won 7-6, I was kind of like, whoa, what happened here? And then I had to kind of review that. But hey, they held down. They needed the 7 runs and not a single one less. Wednesday was a much better game. Pomeranz, who we talked about last week, was just nibble. Definitely, as you put here, best start as a Giant so far. 6 innings, 2 hits, 5 strikeouts. They won 4-0, so it was a shutout. And Pablo homered again, back-to-back games.
Yeah, that DH spot was really a place for runs over the 2 games in Toronto. It seemed to keep the lineup going really, really well, and I think it benefited them because when the Giants hit, it seems to get contagious. And I think in that 4-0 win, 4 different guys, Belt, Posey, Sandoval, and maybe Pilar all had single RBIs in that game. So it was one of those games where everybody kind of contributed. So everybody was feeling good, coming out of Toronto, 5-5 road trip, day off to rest up for this huge homestand against the Yankees and the Dodgers where everybody gets to stroll down memory lane. And then on Friday, Bumgarner just couldn't find the strike zone in the first inning, and the Yankees had a great approach against him. They went up there swinging, and Bum attacks the strike zone early, and the Yankees put bat on ball to score 2 runs in the first. But lo and behold, the Giants did have a positive. They scored a first-inning run on a Buster Posey sacrifice fly.
They avoided the MLB record. Yeah, exactly.
In their 26th game in the year 2019, they finally scored a first-inning run.
Yeah, but again, like you said, it was after the Yankees had scored 2 already, so it was kind of like, crap. It didn't help too much, but yeah, Bum was, he's struggling. He started off the season okay, not always vintage Bumgarner, but the last couple starts have been a little bit worrisome. He's now 1-4 in the year, not totally reflective of his performance. Obviously, the offense is responsible for some of that, but it was 5 2/3 innings, 11 hits.
Career
11
high.
hits, and like you said, they attacked him early. No walks. They weren't patient. They just attacked the strike zone. 5 earned runs, and his ERA is now sitting at 4.3 on the year. So just a bad start by Bum, and they were just buried early and couldn't come out of it.
And from everything I've been reading about Bum, and we forget this every year, especially the last 2 years because of injuries. He generally does start slow. And I mean, I'm not going to panic about Bum just because there's no need to. Bum's, going to be what he is. But it is concerning that these right-handed hitters are squaring him up solidly and hitting a ton of balls to the pull side. So his cutter's not doing what it's supposed to, and he's just not fooling a lot of people. But like I said, his track record is to start off slow. So I figure Bumgarner will get it back on track. And I mean, he needs to. He needs to showcase what he's got in case they're going to trade him.
Yeah, no, that's a tough nut to crack, right? I mean, even if his ERA is in the 4s, close to the trade deadline, there's no doubt that other teams aren't going to be like, oh, I'm concerned, and I'm not going to give you trade value because of his long track record, and of course, especially in the postseason, teams are going to value that. So I don't think his trade value is going to plummet too much if he kind of is on this path of a 4.0 ERA as opposed to a 3.0 ERA, but it's just unsettling. But on the other hand, if there's something, and again, it's way too early to say anything, but if by July his ERA is still over 4, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to trade the guy if this is an indication of kind of the backside of the slope. We don't know this.
I mean, we've seen it, though. That's the problem. Kane and Lincecum are like shining examples in front of us of Giants pitchers that dominated and then fell off a cliff.
So if it does come to pass where Bum is traded and he's not pitching so well this year, And no matter what he does at the end of the year in terms of playoffs, but in the future, let's say in 20 and 21 and 22 with another team, he's not performing very well, then I think Giants fans can kind of relax and go, hey, that was a really good trade. We traded him at kind of, as he started the downslope of his career, and we got some good talent for him. But he's still not young, but he's not over the hill per se. But like you said, you brought up Kane and Lincecum and others who were his age when they started their backslide. So, you also don't want to hold on to him. And Farhan is definitely not a guy to hold on to guys. He's definitely more like a Bill Walsh. He'll cut them, even in their prime or on the backside of their prime near the top, trying to get the most value out of them. So I wouldn't blame Farhan for doing it. And I'm not saying I want it. I love the guy. I want him to be around for a long time, but only if he's going to be effective. I mean, who wants to have a Bumgarner who's going to be an average pitcher, earning $25 million a year? No one wants that. No one wants that.
Bum doesn't want it. We don't want it. None of us want it. And in that 7-3 game, the Giants on Friday night, the Bum, I mean, he still kept them close. It was only a 5-3 game until late when Melanson finally gave up a run this season by giving up a 2-run bomb to, I think it was Sanchez, might have been Torres. I don't remember who hit it. They hit so many home runs. And, it extended to 7-3 game. Voigt, that's right. Large adult son, Luke Voigt.
Yeah.
And
big man.
Yeah, I also not really a fan of his. Yeah, also he doesn't wear an undershirt under his jersey, and somebody else who's wearing jerseys.
Itchy.
Right? How do you do that?
I could never do that. In all of my playing days, no matter if I was polyester, blend, whatever, I could never. I always had to have an undershirt. Always. From a kid to a few years ago. Absolutely.
Once you sweat on it, it gets worse. But
yeah, that's like a sexy thing, like Jorge Posada with just dirt and bare hands with his massive mitts grabbing a bat. You're like, how do you do that? How do you do that?
It's another level that we never could have.
It's a manliness factor that I don't have, but that's okay.
That's all right.
But yeah, Melanson gave up his first runs of the year. That's okay. I mean, look, he's got a 1.54 ERA now, so. I saw some things on Twitter. Oh, there's the Melanson. And it's like, okay, pump the brakes. He didn't lose the game. They were going to lose anyway. But, his ERA is still good. But we'll keep an eye on him. He gave up 3 hits in that inning, including that 2-run home run. But, yeah, not a good start. And then that transitioned into Saturday. And Derek Holland, who has actually been pitching okay as of late. I mean, you said he was left in too long, and I totally agree with that because of the big fly he gave up to Sanchez.
And well, it's funny. Not only did I say he was left in too long, Bochy said it after the game. Bochy took the bullet. Yeah, Bochy took the bullet. He said that was his fault. He thought Holland could get through that inning, even though Holland's numbers are drastically different. Third time through the order, they're lighting him up third time through the order to the tune of like 380 or 400 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And Bochy said he thought that he could just gut it and get through that inning, and Holland missed. He threw an inside fastball that leaked back over the plate, and Gary Sanchez almost hit it to the Coke bottle.
Oh, and 467 feet.
Yeah, that was almost the Galarraga home run. It was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. No, he absolutely crushed it.
Yep. And so, Holland gives up the 4, and then they didn't manage. It goes to 6, and they put together a nice little rally in the 9th inning with Solarte hitting a 3-run bomb and then Eric Kratz eking one out of the left field line. But it wasn't enough, and another one of those 9th inning rallies falls short because the Giants don't score runs early. So when a big blow like the Sanchez grand slam happens, it pretty much decides the game.
I got to look this up. I got to probably go dive deep into baseballreference.com or something, but I could swear if the Giants, if you cut their season in half, and what I mean by that is 5th or 6th inning and later, if you were to condense every game into just those innings, I think the Giants would definitely be above 500 right now. They seem to outscore their opponents in the later innings, but in most of these games that they score, these 7th, 8th, and 9th inning runs, they're down by so many runs, and at least lately it seems like this game was 6-0. The previous game was they were down 5-3, but they were down by more than that earlier. And then of course in the next game, same thing. They were down 8-0, yeah. And the game was 8-5 and then 11-5, and it's just their pitching is failing early, their hitting is failing early. Then their pitching, I'm not going to say succeeds later. It's not doing great, but their hitting seems to pick up in the end. And I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's a psychological thing or just coincidence in a small sample size or what have you. But the Giants have been scoring runs lately. They're just not holding their opponents to where they need to be.
No, and to hit your point home earlier, in innings 1 through 3 this season, they've scored 14 runs. In innings in 28 games, they've scored 14 runs. So that's 3 times 28, and then it's only 14 runs. In innings 4 through 6, though, when they're getting through the order the second and the third time, they've scored 46 runs in 28 games. That's respectable. For that stretch of the game, they're hitting 270 in innings 4, 5, and 6, and in 7, 8, and 9, they've scored 29 runs in the 27 games because of the one rain shortened game. So they are hitting bullpens and they are hitting pitchers the second and third time through the order. They're just falling behind early, and like you said Sunday, Derek Rodriguez just. I mean, he didn't get help from his defense. Brandon Crawford booted what was going to be a double play ball in the first inning, and then Eric Kratz threw one into center field for no discernible reason in the second inning. I mean, if you're going to make an error, at least make it physical. And it didn't help. But, D-Rod, I believe, also had his career high in walks. And they were squaring him up when they got to him. And, 6 runs through the first 3 innings was, again, something that the Giants couldn't come back from, even though they scored 5 runs late in the game.
Yeah, and Gary Sanchez went deep again. After the grand slam, he had another 2-run home run. So it was he had 3 RBIs in that game, 4 RBIs in the previous game. And he's hitting .232 on the year, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, he's not exactly tearing the cover off the ball, but he is in terms of home runs. In fact, I know that coming into the season, he was hitting a home run every 8 at-bats. And that's, Ruthian, Bonzian territory. And then he hit 2 more in the series, so I'm sure his average is a little bit less than that now, maybe 7 point whatever. But so this is Gary Sanchez. He's always been a super high strikeout, low average, high power guy. But he can go a week without hitting a home run. But he came into San Francisco and said, "Oh, I like this place," and hit a couple of bombs that really made a difference in the games.
And as a testament to the pitching and showing how that they have been holding up their end of the bargain compared to the hitting is yesterday was the first time the Giants have given up more than 10 runs in a game this season. And they were one of 2 teams before yesterday that hadn't given up double-digit runs in a game, which is amazing, the Reds being the other one. On the flip side, the Giants still haven't scored more than 7 runs in a game this season.
Yeah, and look at where the Reds and the Giants are. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, they're one of 5 teams that have yet to score double digits in a game this season. And 3 of those teams, Colorado, San Diego, and San Francisco, are all in our division.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's now 14. Oh, no. And then Pittsburgh has never scored more than 7 runs. And Cleveland hasn't scored more than 8 runs in a game this season. That one shocked me.
Yeah, that one's a little more shocking.
Right, well, but it goes to show that the pitching's been keeping them in it, and the hitting has not been holding up their end of the bargain.
No, the hitting has definitely not been holding up their end of the bargain, but they've been doing better. But conversely, the pitching has just gotten worse and worse and worse over the last 2 weeks. Overall, for the season, they're still okay. They're good. They're above average. They're 4th in the NL with a ERA of 3.65, but their hitting is still 29th in all of Major League Baseball at 210. 3.2 runs per game is second to last in the NL, just above Cincinnati. If their pitching was as good as it was in the first couple of weeks of the season, the Giants probably would have won 1, if not 2, of these games against the Yankees because they scored enough runs to, be down in that 2 to 3 runs per game that they've been giving up. But they just blew it early, not only from lack of focus or whatever you want to call it. Maybe it was aggression from the Yankees hitters, like you talked about with Bum. He didn't even walk one, but he gave up 11 hits in 5 and 2/3. But also the defense is, giving up those runs. And I see it. It's funny because I talk about it with my Little League team, right? So, for example, last week on Wednesday, we won, and we're not a very good team. We're 3-6 on the season now. But on Wednesday, we go out and we face a really good team. We beat them 6-2. And the kids are into it. it's like confidence breeds confidence. Success breeds confidence, right? Once the rally happens, once the shutdown inning happens, the kids are into it. Quick inning, they're not getting bored. These are 9 and 10-year-olds who like look at butterflies and look into space, that kind of thing. And they're into it. And then this weekend, we're playing another, good team, above 500, and we're winning 3-2 all the way into the 5th inning. And these are 9 and 10-year-olds pitching really well, playing really good defense, getting a couple clutch base hits, having good at bats. And one inning, they just melted down. And the pitcher started walking everyone. I changed to our big first baseman who came in and threw heat, and he got, a couple outs here and there. But they scored 5 runs in the inning, and then we lost 7-3. But in that last inning, after they went down, they just checked out. They just check out. Whenever they are down, they check out. And even though these are professionals in Major League Baseball, when the defense fails, when a couple of big hits happen, I can't say that these professionals don't have a little bit of an effect. Maybe not as much as the little leaguers, for sure. They're not chasing butterflies and pulling grass, but it's got to affect their confidence out on the field just a little bit, and it just seems to snowball it sometimes.
I mean, they are human after all. For as much as we crunch numbers and try to put everybody into a neat and tidy pile, they are human. And we've definitely, as Giants fans, seen the human aspect of the game take over.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one thing, unfortunately, I was in Tahoe all last week. And then on Saturday, we had Endgame and a baseball game. And yesterday, I went fishing with my son to try and get some Boy Scouts badges done to earn his bear badge. So I have been just so unbelievably busy, and I'm still going to write the article. I was trying to do it before the weekend, but I wanted to at least talk about it. The last time the Yankees visited San Francisco was in June of 2007, and I was actually fortunate enough to attend one of those games. Not as press. This is long before TortureCast. Just bought a ticket, but I did attend. Let's see, I have it somewhere here. I did attend on June 24th. 2007, and I brought my nice digital SLR Canon camera, and I've been looking through these pictures over the last week, and I have just these amazing pictures. And at the time, I knew it was important. It's Roger Clemens versus Barry Bonds. It's Derek Jeter. It's these icons of baseball in the last 20 years, and I have these fucking amazing pictures that I'm definitely going to post on TortureCast and write a little bit about, but I just wanted to talk about it. The game I did go to was June 24th. It was a Sunday in 2007. The Giants won 7-2. Roger Clemens actually did not start the game. He came in relief and pitched to 5 batters. He ended up walking Barry Bonds, but I had just this great series of photographs of him, against, the ball in mid-flight, snapped perfectly in his delivery, Barry Bonds in his step ready to hit. It's stuff that at the time I was like, oh, this is really neat. Now I look back at that and I'm like, God damn it, this is like Christy Mathewson against, Babe Ruth. It's
Ty Cobb or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool that I have all this stuff, and, I was there. I just wanted to, read about the, kind of review the lineup that day. For the Yankees, here's the lineup. In order from first down: Melky Cabrera, of course, future Giant, Miguel Cairo, Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, Hideki Matsui, Robinson Cano, Kevin Thompson, who was later replaced by Johnny Damon, Roger Clemens, Kyle Farnsworth, Will Neves. I never knew how to pronounce his name. Jorge Posada, Mike Mussina started the game. Luis Vizcaíno, Bobby Abreu. I mean, my God, that's like crazy. That's like so many players from my, not childhood, but, young adulthood, I guess you could say, that were playing for the Yankees back then. And for the Giants, it was Randy Wynn, Omar Vizquel, Ray Durham, Barry Bonds, Jack Tashner.
Wow.
Ryan Klesko, Nate Scherholtz, Pedro Feliz. Noah Lowry started that game and got the win. Jonathan Sanchez, Mark Sweeney. It's fun to kind of look at these games when you're there. You don't necessarily realize the history you're seeing, although that day I did with Jeter and Clemens and Bonds and the rarity of the Yankees coming to San Francisco. But just really, really cool, but also really weird how interleague baseball, even though most people, for most series, it's kind of like, I could go without the Giants and Blue Jays, right? But you do get these occasional, whoppers. And, Yankees coming to San Francisco, it's only their second time ever in, 20 years of baseball or whatever, 25 years of interleague baseball that they've come to San Francisco. So it's a rarity. And so you need to, look back at these moments and appreciate it, and especially in these moments in time in which these baseball legends have come and faced each other. It's pretty freaking cool, because without interleague, this never would have happened, except for the playoffs.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see Bum against Judge and Stanton and all that this weekend.
Well,
so nice.
That's the sad thing about it, is the fact that the Giants were swept by, a quad A team. So, what are you going to do?
I think that's too much credit. They're like a double A club right now.
Yeah.
Sorry,
well, they're not doing bad. They're 17-11, and most of those wins have come with those guys on the shelf. So, I think the Yankee fans got to be pretty damn happy right now, because they're holding the fort, more than holding the fort. They're not even playing 500. They're playing above 500 without all of these stars out on the field. So
yeah, they went 6-1 last week. They took 3 or 4 from the Angels before they came to the Giants. Yeah. One thing about this game that you were at. 2 things about this game you were at. The Giants stole 5 bases that day. Barry Bonds, Omar Vizquel, Nate Scherholtz, Randy Wynn, and Ryan Klesko all stole a base. Oh. And then the other thing is, who the heck is Guillermo Rodriguez? He did the catching that day, and I don't remember him at all.
I don't remember him at all either, and even though I saw him.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my God. The other day, somebody mentioned Ramiro Pena from a few years ago, and I completely forgot Ramiro Pena exactly. He was a backup infielder on the 2016 team. But other than that, it's like, who? But that's interesting, though, that they stole 5 bases that day, and that doesn't happen anymore. And every one of those stolen bases came off of Mike Mussina.
Yeah, because we have a podcast now, we didn't have a podcast in 2007. Now that we have a podcast, if we're doing this in 10 or 15 years, oh, God, I hope not. But if we are doing this in 10 or 15 years, do you think you and I are going to remember John or Connor? I can't even say it. Are we gonna remember Joe? Michael Reed or Joe? I mean, are we seriously gonna remember them?
No, we're gonna forget who the hell they are 3 years from now.
Yeah,
that's just the way it goes. So you mentioned how nice of a time it was to see all the Yankees. We did have one thing that happened this weekend that I do think we need to talk about, and that's when Duggar took a spill in the first inning of Game 1.
Yes.
On the bullpen mounds, and he was at a dead sprint. He didn't even look down to see the mounds. He was going to catch that pop-up, and then he missed the next 2 days with a jammed wrist. And as of taping this today, we're still unsure if he's going to start against the Dodgers tonight. But it brings to light that discussion again. Is it time to move the bullpens, and is it time to maybe change the configuration of the outfield wall?
Well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen at the same time, because if they change Triple's alley and they cut off that gap, that's where at least one, if not both, bullpen mounds are going to be. It's long been a problem at AT&T /Oracle /SBC /Pac-Bell Park. It's one of the few stadiums left in Major League Baseball that has their mounds down the sidelines, and it is a problem to the health of both teams, because you're chasing a foul ball into that territory and you're looking at the ball and the mound is there, but you don't know exactly where it is. So these players have got to kind of judge and balance that decision of, when do I look down, or if do I look down to find out where the mound is to locate the ball, because you once you look down, sometimes it's really hard to relocate the ball, especially if you're running at top speed. I mean, you and I have been there before. And so it's an issue. And I think for the fan experience, it's really cool for the bullpen mounds to be down the sidelines, because, all those fans get to see those guys warming up. And it's really impressive. I mean, I've been in those seats before in that first and second row in front of the bullpen, and seeing those guys throw 95 miles an hour down, it's impressive. It's fun. It's an added experience to the game. But at the same time, you got to protect those players, even if it only happens once or twice a year. And so here the Giants are faced with Duggar potentially going on the IL. It's weird calling it the IL now.
Yeah, I'm not used to it.
I know, not used to it. look, I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but if they change the dimensions of the park, then yes, go ahead and put the pens in that new area.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. Having Mac go down with a concussion last year and then Duggar just, slipping like he did this time. And I also read something about how Bryce Harper factored the fact that those bullpen mounds are there in his decision to not come to San Francisco, because he was the one who hit the ball that Mac Williamson got concussed on last year.
No, that's right, yeah.
So he knows firsthand what can happen. And I love the kitschiness. I love it. I love everything about Oracle Park. I absolutely do. But I do think it's time to reconfigure some things. I think it's ridiculous that a right fielder can post up in right center field and just basically, track down balls like it's nothing, because there's so much space out there. And you can hit it 419 feet and somebody can still settle under it and catch it. And in this day and age, with the way baseball is trending, with the way launch angle is becoming more and more studied and the things they want to do, I think it's time. And I think having somebody like Farhan come in might help nudge that along. Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's Peter McGowan was really the one who wanted them there. It was the whole throwback idea. And I appreciate the idea and I appreciate the nod, but with the money that these guys are getting paid today and with the way they keep themselves healthy, it makes no sense to subject them to a freak occurrence. And I would not mind it. I would not mind if the fences were moved in slightly. I don't want to put a fence in front of the right field wall, but cutting off Triple's alley would not bother me. Maybe, curling center field in slightly would not bother me at all. And I'm sure it wouldn't bother somebody like Brandon Belt either, because he hit one the other day, 402 feet, that didn't get out of the park. And I think it's just time. And I know there's the argument that other teams don't seem to have a problem hitting home runs at Oracle. That's because the other teams are hitting the ball 450 feet. When you don't have players that can hit the ball 450 feet, I mean, look at Kratz's homer. It was a wall scraper. Look at Solarte's homer. It barely hit the roof on top of the right field wall in the shortest part of the yard. So it's not like the guys have Barry Bonds swinging the bat anymore. He made it look easy. And it's not the same anymore. And the Giants are getting hurt by it. They're getting hurt by free agents not wanting to come. They're getting hurt by their own players not being able to do things. And I get that it's fair for both teams, but the Giants play there 81 times a year. Nobody else does. So it will affect them more in the long run. So I think it's time, and I'm totally on board with it. Take the bullpens, put them in Triple's Alley, rename it Bullpen Alley, build a bar like right behind it so people can still watch the warm-ups and stuff like that, or get rid of the garden in center field and relocate the garden somewhere else if they want to do that, and put the bullpens out there. Just anything but what it is now. I'm tired of hazards being there. I mean, even Wrigley Field moved their bullpens inside 3 years ago. And if they can do it at Wrigley Field, I think that us Giants fans can accept it being done at Oracle Park.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I do think the Giants would benefit more than other teams in terms of Triple's Alley. Kevin Pillar hit one out there actually over the weekend. Yep. Same thing. That was going to be out in most parks. Look, I love Oracle Park. I love the idiosyncrasies and the character of the park. I really, really do. I do like the bullpens down the line, but not at the expense of Giants players. Like you said, they play half their games there. The other teams come in for 3 to 9 games, right? So they have a much less chance of getting hurt on those mounds. The Giants have a much increased chance of getting hurt on those mounds. So that's going to hurt your team overall. So I do think you can cut off Triple's Alley. You can configure those stands a little bit differently, cut out a little bit of the garden, put the pens in there, put a bar above, like you said. I think those are great ideas. You don't change left field. You don't change right field, right? Center field, whatever. I mean, as part of Triple's Alley, it could come in a couple of feet here or there to make it smoother, I guess, in the transition. That's fine. But here's the other thing you could do, though, and I know this would be a huge retrofit, so it's not easy. These are things that cost tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's not something that, the ownership is like, oh, that's chump change. Let's just do it. There's a real financial cost that they have to consider, and that's part of the equation. But there's ample foul territory where those bullpen mounds are. If you got rid of those bullpen mounds, you could hypothetically bring in the stands a little bit. Yep. So you could add more seats there, right, for the seats that you lose elsewhere. So, it still could make the game very exciting. Look at Wrigley Field, like you just said. My God, there's no foul territory down the deep lines, right? It's like a foot between the stands and the line. I'm not suggesting that, but what I'm saying is that you could bring in those stands a little bit and add probably a good 50 to 200 seats down each line if you got rid of the bullpen mounds. You decrease foul territory, sure, but you have all that extra space now. So there are definitely changes they could make. I don't see a huge issue with it. And you look at teams like parks like Comerica Park when they opened for the Tigers. Do you remember where their left field fence was?
Oh, yeah.
It's the back of the bullpen area now. And they changed that within like 3 or 4 years of the opening of the park because that was their Death Valley. That was their Triples Alley because it was a very, very deep left field. And they moved that in like by freaking 20, 25 feet. It was significant enough to put in the bullpen mounds there. So now it's funny because every time I see highlights on SportsCenter or MLB Network and I see a guy hitting a fly ball that goes over the fence into the bullpen area, hey, it's a home run. But 10 years ago, it was an out.
Right.
And
that's
the way it is.
I was going to say there's two other parks that are also Citi Field it's been open 11 years and they've already moved the fences 3 times.
3 times?
3 times.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and Petco. Even Petco.
Yeah, Petco's moved. Yep.
Moved their fences in and they built up that nice little bar patio area that they've got to extend it and things like that. So it's not unprecedented. It's just not what we're used to.
Yeah, the Giants, Oracle Park is still statistically the hardest park to hit a home run in. So I know there's a certain crown that some people like to wear, but at the same time, I think times are changing. Like you said, everything's about power and launch angle now. I mean, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, hell, it worked great to the Giants' benefit. Doesn't work now. So I think the Giants ownership needs to take a look at it and give it serious thought for 2020.
It's definitely something that's going to be coming up this offseason, I'm sure of it. From what I hear, Farhan's already broached the subject with management. So
they've talked about it now. It's actually, that's the thing. It was kind of like Voldemort. It was like, the name that shall not be spoken. And It's like, no, they're actually talking about it now. So, and speaking of Duggar, now that he has potentially gone down, he's definitely missed a couple of games because of his tumble on the mound. I think a lot of questions are coming up, and I'm not saying he should or should not come up, but let's talk about it. Mac Williamson, he was DFA'd by Farhan, cleared waivers, came back, not on the 40-man roster, and he's tearing it up in the minor leagues in AAA. But again, he has done this time and time and time again. And every time he's brought up to the major leagues, he just seems to be that eternal quad A player. And I know a lot of fans that maybe not, are not as knowledgeable about his past or like, how can you not bring up a guy who's hitting 375 with, freaking all these home runs and OPS off the charts and RBIs off the charts? It's like, well, because he's done that before and you bring him up and he does jack shit up here. So what do you think, because of the lack of outfield depth again in the Giants system? They start with Joe and Reed and they dismiss them. They get Pilar and Austin, and Pilar has been a breath of fresh air. Austin definitely has shown signs, and he has a lot more power. I think that's going to come. But with potentially an injury to Duggar and the depth question, I mean, is this something the Giants should explore? And is there anyone on the 40-man roster that you think is expendable?
Okay, I'm looking at I have 3 thoughts on this. I'm looking at the 40-man, and it's really hard to find a candidate to be taken off the 40-man because there's a few names that jump out, like Melvin Adon, Sam Coonrod, and Williams Jerez, as people we've never heard of and who knows. But they're all young guys, and they're on the 40-man for a reason so that the Giants can hold on to them. My next thought is Mac showed signs of brilliance last year, but he only played 5 games before that concussion happened. It wasn't like it was a month of sustained hitting. So it was one of those things where, okay, maybe, and then he just never got the chance. And then my third thought is you said it. Farhan DFA'd him at the end of spring training, which means 29 other teams had the chance to get Mac Williamson for nothing, and none of them did it.
Not a single team.
Right. So that says something to me about how he's valued. And I advocated a month ago that I think Mac needs a change of scenery, and I kind of still stick by that. I think that he might be a depth piece to trade more so than somebody you could bring up. I mean, they're not going to take Chris Shaw off the 40-man. Austin Slater is like the only one off the top of my head that maybe they could take off the 40-man. But they're going to keep Shaw on the 40-man because they want to protect him as well. You know, they got Avellino, who's 24 years old and is a middle infielder down there waiting to come up. I guess Ryder Jones, but again, he's only 24 years old. So the Giants, Mac Williamson's 28, and the Giants are not going to waste their roster spot if they don't see him as having a future with the ball club. And I think that's going to be the most telling part of it. And I think the reason Bochy even brought it up yesterday was because he was asked about it. I don't think he did it unprompted. So while we're all paying attention to that and he's getting his reports, I don't see if there's any real, who you can take off the 40-man at this time, barring some sort of trade of a relief pitcher or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a big point right there, because Farhan has obviously been pulling the trigger a lot with trades. And I think him and his analytical sense and background in his team know that Mac, if he were to be called up, definitely could be a flash in the pan. Again, he could come up in the first week and hit 3 bombs, and everyone goes, oh, see, you should have done that. But over the long haul, he's not going to be what people want him to be. And I think he would rather go in the direction of a trade to upgrade, because he's already proven that. He's already gotten the Reed and the Joe, and that didn't work out. That turned into Pilar and Austin, who clearly were upgrades over those two guys. And so I think he's going to look in that direction. He's not going to be looking in the direction of, oh, Mac Williamson, let's call him up for the 19,000th time to hit 220 in the major leagues. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So maybe with the old ownership, they would clear a spot right now. Well, they wouldn't have DFA'd him in the first place, but if they did, they would make that spot right now. So everyone, what I think Eric and I are trying to say is Mac Williamson can have limited success in the major leagues. He's not going to change the season. He's not in the future plans of the San Francisco Giants. And granted, he could be traded, or if he's DFA'd again and he's picked up by another team, he could succeed for a small amount of time with another team. But he's not the answer. He's not the answer. And I think people who look at the stats in the minor leagues for the last, 10 games? I mean, come on, guys. This is not a large sample size. I mean, he just excels in the PCL. He does not excel in the major leagues.
Yeah, and on one broader point on this before we move on to who's hot and who's not, if the Giants keep doing what they've always done, they're not going to get anywhere. The whole point in having new presidents, new general manager when they hire one come in is to change things, because if they keep doing what they've always done and getting these crappy results, then there's no progress. And the Giants are not showing progress just yet. So things do need to change. And by calling Mac up, you're just recycling the same old. Whereas I hope Tyler Austin can get more at-bats maybe in left field, because I can't stand to watch Brandon Belt play left field anymore. He is a first baseman. Right, he's a first baseman playing left field. But Austin has shown some plate discipline. He has shown a knack for hitting the ball hard and getting on base. So, I'd like to see him get more playing time. But as a general whole, the Giants need to do things differently. And they can't just keep falling back on calling Mac up and doing the same types of things. Yeah. So things need to change, and the Giants are in that direction. I am so on board with Farhan shaking things up. I have a list of moves I'd love to see made that we're not going to go into now, because some of them would absolutely decimate the fan base. But some scary things might be coming, and it's because the Giants need to change. It's not 2010 anymore.
No, it's not. We got to move on, guys. I mean, we love this team. That's why we're still doing this podcast, but we have to see reality, and we can't just keep living in the past. And Mac Williamson is not a future MVP. Sorry. It's just he's not. No matter how well he does in the PCL, it's just not going to happen.
Nope. All right,
All
so
right.
let's head over to I was gonna say let's head over to who's hot and who's not. I'll start off with who's hot. Buster Posey is starting to turn it around. We touched on it last week after he hit that 3-run home run in Pittsburgh. But over the past week, he went 5 for 15, hit 2 doubles, drove in 3 runs, and he's raised his batting average from 210 before that Pittsburgh game last Sunday all the way up to 247, which is impressive. And his swing is definitely coming around. He's squaring balls up. He's pulling it. He's shooting the opposite field. Posey's looking more and more like Posey again.
Yeah, no, that is really, really crucial for the Giants. I mean, at this point, Posey is their captain. He's a perennial 300, 290 hitter, so I think he's going to get there. I think, this is, again, the recovery from his hip surgery. I do hope the power hit numbers come. We talked last week. I was hoping if he doesn't hit at least 10 home runs this year, that's a huge question mark, even though he's kind of transitioning and still building up to his power numbers. But, still he only has that one home run, so he's got a long way to go. Belt also was 5 for 16. That's a 313 average with 2 doubles and a home run this week. So he's contributing, even though his aforementioned left field antics weren't exactly fantastic. And then, you definitely highlighted this on Twitter and Facebook this week, but Pablo, and a lot of the fans have been saying this too. 2 homers in Toronto, 5 for 16 this week, 313. Longo has not been so good lately. In fact, he's kind of on our who's not list quite a bit. He's 2 for 16 this past week. So Pablo's been doing pretty damn well, and he had a chance to showcase his talent in the DH in Toronto, but he might be begging for a few more starts here or there against Longo. I mean, I don't know what you think about that.
I personally, I think Pablo is exactly where he needs to be. I fear giving him any sort of regular playing time will expose him to falling into the same bad habits that cause his plunge at times. Sure. And frankly, I love the guy, and Bruce Bochy loves the guy. But if Pablo keeps shining in the role that he's in, I don't see any reason why an American League team that's in contention and might need a designated hitter wouldn't go and snag Pablo up. He's cheap. The Red Sox are footing the bill for him. So I like where he's at, and he's nowhere near Longo defensively. And when you're not scoring runs, you need to make the routine and the not so routine plays. So I love his energy. I love Pablo. I mean, we've done complete. I'll say it this way, a complete 360 on Pablo, because we turned on Pablo when he went to the Red Sox and crapped all over the Giants, but then we loved him again over the last year and a half. So, this is one instance where we literally did a 360 on somebody, and he'll forever be loved in San Francisco. And he's the type of player that, I could see him coming back to the Giants year after year to try to catch on. And he's a clubhouse presence that's loved. I think he's in the exact right role for him right now. If the Giants did have a designated hitter, that would be the perfect role for him, because he wouldn't have to worry about anything but the hitting aspect of it. And he's hitting the ball hard from the right side this year. I mean, he had 2 balls in Toronto that were the 2 hardest hit balls for the Giants this year. One was lefty, his laser home run. One was righty, he hit a line drive out to the shortstop. So he definitely still has it. I just worry that, it would expose him more if he were to be playing every day. And, I mean, Longoria is signed through 2022. And if the Giants are inclined to possibly trade him as well, they need to showcase him as much as possible.
That's very true. That's a good point. It's weird to think, like, I saw Pablo Sandoval in 2007 in San Jose when he was there as a catcher, by the way. Knowing that he was like the next best thing in Giants baseball. Of course, that was right before Buster Posey came up too, so we thought he was going to be catcher. He was a third baseman, of course, and in 2009, with his first full season with the Giants, it's crazy to look at his numbers. When I look at them, they're almost unbelievable. 25 home runs, 90 RBI, 330 batting average, finished 7th in the MVP voting. I mean, he was a rock star back in 2009, 2010. He was absolutely incredible. And in 2011, he was an all-star. 2012, he was an all-star. He hit 23 home runs, 70 RBIs, still hit, 315, 283 the following year. So this is the guy that we know, in the past, but this is in the long past, right? So now he's heavy still, but also aged. So maybe his frame can't support it, whatever. But he's still hitting 295 this year with 2 bombs, 6 RBI. But this is all in just 44 at-bats. So again, small sample size, but we love this guy. We want him to succeed. He's one of Bruce Bochy's favorites, but he's 32 years old. And at that weight and lack of physical conditioning, it's going to catch up with him a little bit quicker than a normal person. So, again, not someone who you can put future stock into as a Giants fan. You can't. You got to look at this guy going, he's a plug in the dike, basically.
Yep. And I love Pablo. I'll never not love Pablo at this point.
Yeah.
So, but you flip over to who's not, and you just mentioned his name. Evan Longoria went 2 for 16 this past week. I know he drove in a run in Toronto, but that was about it. He's playing a decent third base, but he's not hitting the ball. And then Gerardo Parra, 2 for 15 over the past week. He's just not getting it done. He's not coming through at all. He's been moved all over the lineup, and he doesn't seem to have solid footing at all. Plus, he tried to steal home for some friggin' reason the other day.
That was weird, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened there.
He took off on the pitch. It wasn't like he tried to steal it when the catcher threw the ball back to the pitcher. And the pitcher, bless the pitcher, the one thing that you hope for there is a balk maybe. The pitcher stepped off and then fired home. And so everybody did it the way they were supposed to. But Parra, again, he's not hot. He's 2 for 15. And then this stat from Crawford, that shocks me.
Guys, look, Brandon Crawford, we love him. We love his defense. We love his gold gloves. We love his hair. We love his grand slam against Pittsburgh in 2014. He's a shell of his former self offensively. He has just not done well lately. He's 3 for 16 this week. He has 2 RBI on the year. How many kids does he have? He has 4.
4 now, yeah.
So he has more children than he has RBI. Now, I know you may go, oh, that's funny, ha, 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 whatever. Here's the thing. In 2019, he has 20 RBI. Or sorry, not 20, 2 RBI. He has 95 at-bats, everyone. Okay? That is basically 1/5 of the season. Okay? The previous year, he had 531 at-bats, 518, 553, 507, 491, 499, 435. Okay? So you multiply 2 by 5, maybe 5.5. He's on pace for 10 to 15 RBI. 10 to 15 RBI for an entire year. Okay? Last year, he had 54. Which sucked. The year before that was 77, 84, 84, 69, 43, 45. He's not even close to those really bad numbers, to be honest. He's never been a 100 RBI guy. My point is, we're this far into the season, and he's got 2 RBI, and he's hitting 200. This is not good, and I don't know what the Giants' future plans are for him. I'm a little concerned for him.
Yeah, I do too. I again, with him, just like Bumgarner, I read about his past and how Crawford is one who's slow to start. And last season, I believe he was slow to start before he went on a tear for about a month. And then he went right back in the tank after that. But just on the overall whole, I mean, that double play ball he booted the other day yesterday was just, it was a routine ground ball, and he seemed to rush it. I know he made a beautiful play on a ball at the middle where he backhand flipped it to second base, but Crawford's always going to make those unbelievably spectacular plays. It's the fact that he's not making all the routine plays anymore that's starting to concern me. And the Giants do have a conundrum because Brandon Crawford is getting paid $15 million a year through 2021. So this year, next year, and the year after. And not only that, he has a full no-trade clause.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the solution is there just yet, but if his defense can be above average, then I'm okay with it. I'm okay with him hitting eighth. I'm okay with him driving in 30 runs and hitting 215, as long as the defense is there. But if the defense stops being there, and there's been flashes that it might, then there's some time for concern. And it's just another reminder of the bad. I don't want to say bad contracts, because these guys got rewarded for winning World Series, but it's just another reminder of how the Evans-Sabian regime did things compared to how things are going to be done now. And I think things are going to be a little more cold and calculated now, and the warm and fuzzies have worn off.
Totally agree. All right, so this week, obviously, Bum, Holland, and D-Rod, which we talked about, all roughed up by the Yanks. They're not hot. Melanson finally gave up a run. He gave up 2, but his ERA is still good. So that'll conclude who's not. So you got a report on the minor leagues. Obviously, last week we talked about Joey Bart getting hit in the hand and getting a broken hand. So he's going to be out for at least another 4 weeks. But who are we going to talk about this week?
Yeah, Helio Ramos has got a bum knee, and he's going to miss at least a month. So while the Giants on the Major League level, Giants on the Major League level have stayed healthy. Their 2 hottest and best prospects are injured right now. And being injured when you're in the minor leagues can do more than just put you on the shelf for a while. It can put you behind the 8 ball when it comes to rehabbing and coming back, because teams will be more hesitant to rush you back than they would, say, at the Major League level. So it's going to give Ramos some time to get back, and it's just unfortunate. There's still some bright spots. I saw Jalen Miller is doing pretty well. I don't have his stats in front of me, but he's doing pretty well in Double-A thus far. But it just sucks that, again, Helio Ramos, so the top 2 prospects of the Giants are now injured. Everybody in the big league club's healthy, but their top 2 prospects are injured. So it's kind of some weird little karma that they're running into right now.
All right, so let's talk about this week in Giants history. You got some stuff here.
Excuse me. We're going to skip Guess That Giant for this week. It is on hiatus. Tune in next week for our next episode of Guess That Giant. This week in Giants history, I will be looking back. I put the honorable mention here, but I think that's what I'm going to write about. In 1973, the Giants scored 6 runs with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning to win a game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It is statistically their biggest comeback in history. So this week, that happened on May 1st of 1973. So I'm going to look back on that with an honorable mention to the first game ever in franchise history back in 1883, when they weren't even called the Giants yet. They were still the New York. They were still the New York Gothams. I'll probably touch on that, and but I'm going to explore their biggest comeback. And you know me, my Twitter handle is 2-out hits. I love the 2-out hits. So the fact that the Giants were able to score 6 runs with 2 outs to win a baseball game in the 9th inning is just phenomenal. So that's what I'll be looking back this week in Giants history.
All right, so coming up, we have 3 at home against the Dodgers starting tonight. After the Yankee series, I'm a little concerned, but after that, they go on the road for 4 in Cincinnati. And what's really crazy about this is that Cincinnati has perennially been not a very good team. But when was the last time the Giants actually won in Cincinnati, Eric?
May 3rd, 2016 is the last time that the Giants won a game in Cincinnati, which is mind-blowing because it is a hitter's park. And just to throw a couple numbers out, if you remember the last couple of years, it feels like they go there and then they just fall flat. Well, you're right, they do. Last year, they got swept in 3 games. The Giants didn't hit a single homer in Cincinnati, and he only had 6 extra base hits. 6 runs scored in 3 games. Ugh. Pathetic. 2017, also swept in 3 games in Cincinnati, but they managed 1 home run that year, 8 extra base hits, but only scored 5 runs. But on the flip side, back in 2016, they took the first 2 games of a series and lost the third. And that series, they had 3 home runs, 11 extra base hits, and scored 16 runs. So it is possible to score runs. And like I said earlier, Cincinnati is not the best team. They haven't scored – I take it back. They've scored 14 runs in a game this year, but Cincinnati surprisingly hasn't let up more than 9 runs in a game this season. I don't think the Giants are necessarily going to do that, but Cincinnati's at the bottom of their division. They have not been playing to potential. So the Giants will have a chance to go on the road and do some damage in Hitters Park. Because let's face it, they're playing the best team in the National League the next 3 nights, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers are good. They're good again. The one saving grace is there's no Kershaw. It's going to be Maeda tonight, Buehler tomorrow, and Ryu on Wednesday. So at least they get to miss Kershaw this time around. But then again, the Dodgers, they do get bum on Wednesday.
Yeah, they do get bum on Wednesday. Here's my concern is that the Giants have lost, 7 straight games in Cincinnati over the last 2+ years.
Right.
And Cincinnati has not been a good team the last 2 years. So we'll see what happens. This could be a rough week. We thought this week was rough with the sweep against the Yankees, but we're coming into 7 games here against the Reds and the Dodgers. The Dodgers are going to be tough here. The Giants play at home, even though we don't have Kershaw, but the Giants have perennially been not so great against the Dodgers all the time. I think against Cincinnati the last 2 years, it hasn't been very good. So, I mean, look, I'm going to be happy if they're 3-4, to be honest. But 4-3 will be a win.
Yeah, my hope is, and I think Toronto showed me something. The Giants might hit in hitters parks this year. They might not fall off the cliff like they have in years past.
That's
and if
true.
they do hit the ball again in another hitters park, it's just another reason to show management why maybe it's time to reconfigure some things back home. I brought it all the way around.
I totally agree. All right, so you have a birthday coming up, Eric.
Yeah, I turned 40 on Friday. Everybody pray for me. I'm going through a little bit of a midlife crisis myself. I'm not going to get into the details, but there are no sports cars connected to this one. But the most depressing part of it, and I'm sorry, Chad, because I know that this means
right? This means a lot to me.
Yep, I knew that this was like a nail in your coffin almost. There's only one player left in Major League Baseball who is older than me, and that is Fernando Rodney, who is 42 years and 42 days old today. And he just tied and passed Cy Young in career appearances a week and a half ago. So he's been around a long time. He's played with 25 teams. He's like the Jose Lima. So he's the only baseball player who's older than me, in which I assume that means that you are now older than every single Major League Baseball player.
Yeah, Bartolo Colon was my last saving grace, and he was active on the roster all the way up through the end of last year. So up until the end of the Major League season last year, I could still claim there is a Major League Baseball player older than me. No longer. He has not been signed. He will not be signed. His career is over unless something crazy happens. So I think this is the first year in my life I will be officially older than every single Major League player.
So when Chad starts screaming about these kids need to do something, he means it because they're all kids to him now.
I mean it. I can be your dad. Yeah,
which is funny because Elvis Luciano got the win for the Blue Jays yesterday, and he is the first player born 2000 or later to get a Major League victory.
2000 or later. I mean, I was in San Francisco celebrating 2000. Like, that doesn't... I was still playing baseball then. Like, what the...
I had different knees back then.
Yeah, this isn't good. Oh, my God. I'm going to reference some endgame stuff with Steve Rogers, but I won't. That's what I feel like right now. You guys who've seen it will know what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, anyway, you reference him. You got to talk about what happens.
Oh.
Damn it, my mic cut out again.
Oh, I love you, Eric. You got me again. You literally got me again. I was like, never mind. All right. Okay, so Eric expertly trolled us in episode 163. Hopefully in 164 he won't troll us that much. Is there another movie coming out next week? No. Nothing like Endgame. Okay, so do you Do you have anything to pimp, by the way?
No, nothing left. Like I said, this week in Giants history will be up Wednesday. I keep mulling over other things, but life's getting in the way. And being a podcast by fans for fans, I'm pretty happy with what we got going on right now. I just want to say thanks, actually, to the listeners themselves. There's been great interaction this year, and I really appreciate you reading my pieces. This is the first time I've really kept up with a weekly column, and this is one I look forward to writing, because I used to write a weekly column that would review the week, but when the team is struggling, that's hard to do, and that's why I went this week in Giants history this year, and so I'm glad people are liking it. We're getting some good feedback. We hit some sort of milestone on WordPress the other day. I don't remember what it was, but it was kind of nice. So, really thank you to the listeners and the readers. We know you're out there, and we appreciate you keeping us going.
Yeah, no, it's been great. This year, we've been more engaged. You guys have been more engaged, so it just kind of feeds on each other. And it's ironic that, they suck this year. But, what are we going to do? We're fans. We're not going to quit because they suck. So,
we'll still be here in 3 years when they're good again. So,
yeah, it's all cyclical, right?
Yep.
Well, at least we hope. Yeah, the even year thing is probably gone. 10, 12, 14, 16 was still playoffs, so you can still claim that. 18 was nothing. So unless they do well, next year, I think the even year thing is dead. But we're here for you. We're here for the Giants. We're here for ourselves. We love talking about this team, even when they suck. There's still little bright things to talk about. There's still fun things to talk about. We're not going away anytime soon. So for Eric, this is Chad signing off for episode 163, and we'll see you next week for episode 164. A-boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.